When you think of league-winning running backs or just league-winning players in general, you think of exciting players, you think of players who have some upside, right? So we're not talking about veterans. We're not talking about veterans. We're not talking about players that are aging, players on potentially second or third contracts. Now, sometimes in very specific situations, these players could be league winners. They can hit a career year late. Cole Beasley, for example, last year, 32 years old as a slot wide receiver. But it's very rare, and at that point, those are just some late round flyers. Beasley in the 14th, 16th round. We're looking at guys who can be league winners in the early to middle part of the draft. Now, obviously, we're not talking first round pick. Christian, no, not the first round, the second round, but you know, as you approach that fourth, fifth round, there's some players in there that are going to finish as should have been first round, second round picks. You look last year, and Jonathan Taylor was often being taken in the fourth round, sometimes the fifth round, depending on when you drafted. And now in a lot of drafts, he goes in the first round. Cam Akers, very similar analysis. He was being taken in the fourth, fifth round towards the end of the summer when it looked like he might have a bigger role in the team. But before that, sixth, seventh round, I mean, people weren't buying in. And now he's going in the first round pretty often. So who is that guy this year? Because what do you get? You get your normal first and second round pick. And then the guy you're taking in the third, fourth, or fifth round, running back for this video specifically, you're looking at now draft capital wise of basically having 2 to 3 first round picks on your team. And that's how you win fantasy football leagues. You win by getting these breakout players, these league winning players at all parts of the draft ideally, but the biggest upside for them is in that 4th to 5th round. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you find a guy like Cole Beasley or somebody in the 14th, 16th round, they might outproduce their ADP, and instead of being a 14th round pick, maybe they should have been an 8th to 10th round pick. But when you find somebody in the 4th to 5th round, maybe even 6th, when they outproduce their ADP and become a first round pick, those jump in points, the expectation, the value there is much more immense than a guy jumping 2 to 4 rounds later on in the draft, where the spread in fantasy points and overall amount of them is not as much. So ladies and gentlemen, fellas, how you doing today? We're going to break down a league winning running back that I think is no doubter, is a hard word to put on this one. But everything lines up for this guy. As long as you're not playing in non-PPR formats, which if you are, even this guy can be decent, but stop playing in those half point at the very least, hopefully PPR, but whatever it might be. If you're playing in one of those types of formats, this player is going to be somebody that you want on your rosters and somebody you can get pretty easily for the price right now, basically the 4th round. You see, this guy is a borderline top 20 running back for me as a rookie right now. He's my number 22 overall running back, and he's going often right around pick 25 or 26 at the running back position. And now there's not many rookies. Who is it, Sal? Is it Javonte Williams? Is it Michael Carter? Are you that high on Michael Carter? Yes and no, not for this video. Najee Harris, you can't be ranking him that low, Sal. And outside the top 20, no, it's not Najee Harris. He is a quality player. It's Travis Etienne, a man who was taking a pick after Najee Harris, a man who was taken in the first round, and a lot of people thought he was a second round pick. But he gets that first round capital, and 76% of running backs with first round draft capital have hit within their first 2 years at being an RB2 or better, meaning that they should be taken in the top 24 or better, right around where I have him ranked. But most of those running backs don't go into a situation that Travis Etienne is going into, and they also don't have the excellability, if that's even a word. They don't have the immense ability to pick up receptions, those valuable touches, potentially the most valuable touches outside of goal line touches, arguably similar to goal line touches are your receptions for fantasy football. And outside of the obvious reason as to why these are important, the other reason, you get a point, you get a half a point per reception, it keeps you on the field more in different situations. You're not game flow independent. I mean, let's look at a couple of his examples from just last year alone. Last year, you have a running back in Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones, he's on a team that has a great offense, a good quarterback, Tom Brady last year, fantastic, and a great defense. Now, Ronald Jones is not much of a pass catcher. If anything, he's a bad pass-catching running back. Ronald Jones, sure, was splitting the backfield because he can't catch passes with Leonard Fournette for most of the season. But for Ronald Jones to exceed as a pure rusher, he needs a good defense and a good quarterback. Now, why the quarterback part? Well, you get towards the red zone, you move the ball, you keep drives alive. Why a good defense? Well, so you can actually run the ball and not come off the field for the pass-catching running back. And what happened towards the end of last season when Fournette was hurt, not in the postseason, but the end of the regular season, Ronald Jones starts popping off because that whole mixture was working pretty well. The positive thing for Travis Etienne is he doesn't need that. He doesn't need that at all. Travis Etienne just has the cheat code. He has the ability to catch passes. Travis Etienne gets in the situation for players like himself, the Alvin Kamaras and some other players that rely on pass catching responsibilities. Ezekiel Elliott last year with Dak Prescott, Dalvin Cook becoming a pass catching running back the last 1 to 2 years. He's in the exact same situation as them, meaning he has a good quarterback, and he's going into a defense that is not supposed to be good, ranked 29th overall last year by Pro Football Focus. So why is that mixture important? Well, look at the Cowboys last year. Good quarterback, can keep you in games, can keep you in shootouts, move the ball downfield, touchdowns, receptions, drives alive. Bad defense means you're playing from behind a lot more often than if you had a good defense. And that's important for a pass-catching running back like Travis Etienne because he'll stay on the field more. He'll start to see an 80 to 100 target type season. And that's very important. You saw this with Zeke last year. He started to become the #1 routes run running back those first 5 weeks with Dak Prescott. He was the #1 pass-catching running back ahead of Kamara. McCaffrey was hurt. Saquon was hurt. Ahead of Dalvin Cook. Ahead of all these guys last year when Dak Prescott was healthy because he had that combo of bad defense, good quarterback, and himself being a quality pass-catching running back. Now, Etienne's already coming out as a dynamic pass-catching running back. I mean, you can look at what he did in his time at college as a pass catcher on the screen right now. In his first 2 college seasons, he played 28 games. He only had 17 receptions on 22 targets. He saw a measly 2% and 1.5% target share, and he hit 135 receiving yards. Now, he made a documented effort. He said he basically started to see what he needed to do if he wanted to extend his career into the NFL, make himself more versatile, a first-round pick like he was. He goes out there and he works on his receiving game. He gets a lot better at it in his final 2 years, a lot better, coming out as the #1 pass-catching running back this past year. In his final 2 college season, in one less game, more experience, but one less game, 27 games, you can see on the screen, he ended up putting up 85 receptions and 98 targets, over 1,000 receiving yards, and a 12.2% target share as he left college last year. Now, he played 3 seasons with Trevor Lawrence there, and now he gets to come to the NFL as they're both rookies together. That's another leg up for him over the one James Robinson. And now, speaking of James Robinson, look, I took him in like the 14th round of my home league last year. It's a keeper league. He was the guy I was going to keep. It looked good. Okay, can he get through free agency? Okay, he got through free agency. Can he get through the draft? Nope, not at all. And now James Robinson is all but dead. Look, they can say what they want in these camp reports about Travis Etienne playing a lot of wide receiver. It's rookie minicamp. He's already a good running back. He has worked on the last 2 years becoming a better receiver. You might as well get even better at that in terms of picking up pass protection, in terms of working out of the slot like some running backs do. Not often. I mean, you might see a running back take 5 snaps out of the slot in a game at most, but at least get familiarized with that. So I'm not concerned. I don't think Travis Etienne is going to have 0 carries this year, but what this does show me is that they want to use him across the field, move him out of the backfield into a slot. Well, that's fantastic for us. That's Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara-esque at times. And that starts to push him towards these 80 to 100 target seasons, which start to far outweigh anything a 200 carry running back like a James Robinson is going to do. And I don't even think James Robinson is going to get that. James Robinson is a 23-year-old undrafted free agent, and last year, everything had to get right. We'll call this extreme luck for James Robinson to take over in that backfield. I mean, he basically started out camp as like the at best third, probably 4th running back on the depth chart. And what happens in the last 2 to 3 weeks before the month starts? Leonard Fournette gets cut. Okay, some people said they saw it coming. For the most part, you could not have probably bet on that with minus money. It was not the favorited outcome, right? So Leonard Fournette gets cut. Oh, Raquel Armstead, a former 3rd-round pick, he ends up going out there and getting COVID and sitting out the entire season 2 weeks before the year starts. Then Devon Ezigbo, undrafted free agent, used to be with the Saints for a quick little cup of coffee. He's now the only other backfield, 200 undrafted free agents in this backfield. He gets a bum ankle, something that was not widely reported, but he has ankle issues before the season starts, like the week before. And now it's James Robinson in this backfield with literally nobody back there at all. And James Robinson goes out and sees the #1 opportunity share in the NFL last season. He goes out there and he sees overall and fantasy points wise the #7 finish as a PPR running back. But now there's new management. Now there's actually guys behind this guy who can threaten him. I mean, I don't think Carlos Hyde is going to threaten him, but that's a better option than Devon Ezigbo was last year as he only got to threat him. And oh yeah, the 1st-round running back that they took in this draft in Travis Etienne. So that #1 opportunity share, it's surely coming down. The 50 targets he saw last year, coming down immensely. Travis Etienne was taken for a reason. He's going to be a weapon. They said, oh, they wanted Kadarius Toney out of Florida with Urban Meyer. Now they kind of want to use Etienne as this. He's still going to be a running back. He's a running back. He's still going to get carries. You're just trying to make him more versatile now. And I love it. As a fantasy manager, somebody who wants him, somebody who thinks he's going to be a league winner, we love it. So right now, Travis Etienne, there was 50 targets alone for James Robinson last year in a much worse offense that could not keep drives alive with Gardner Minshew. You would expect Trevor Lawrence to increase that a little bit, especially with the connection with a Travis Etienne. I mean, if Travis Etienne comes in and he sees, I think he's going to pretty easily see 60 plus targets in this offense, there's not much meat left on the bone for James Robinson. He starts to go, if he loses all of his pass catching work or the far majority of it last season, from a top 10 running back to quickly outside the top 20 in running backs, not even taking into account how much of his 200 and carry workload Etienne and or Carlos Hyde is going to cut into this season. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have a major upgrade at quarterback. We'll see what happens with the coaching staff. The offensive line may take a step forward. It's kind of been something that's been developing for a little while. Cam Robinson would need to take that 3rd to 4th year leap that he's just not showing at all right now. Took another offensive tackle in the draft. Last year, they ranked number 22 overall and 25th in run blocking. They aim to be right around bottom half to bottom third of the league yet again. But again, this would be a downside for James Robinson. Not so much Travis Etienne, who, like an Alvin Kamara, when they've had guys injured on their offensive line, can still get you there from the 80-plus potential reception seasons. And I mean, that's a guy who he was comped to coming out of college, Alvin Kamara. This is a home run hitter, somebody who's not dependent on the volume on the ground, although when he has it, he knows what to do with it. He didn't get all that often 20-plus touches in college, but pretty often he went for over 150 yards and a couple of scores. The only other guy in the backfield is Carlos Hyde, and at this point, not really somebody that you should be worrying about all that much. He's 31 years old. He got some time last year with Seattle where he wasn't terrible, averaged 4 yards per carry. He saw 20 targets on the season, but he was banged up during that season, playing 38% of the snaps. It's a Travis Etienne show here, and it's that simple. Playing with your old college quarterback, a guy who can come into the league with upside in terms of the passing game chops. I know why people are higher on Najee Harris. I am as well, because there's just nobody even take the carries out there. So he's walking into a situation with carries. He's walking into a situation with overall pass catching ability. And oh yeah, a system that likes to really pound the running back, especially when you go out of your way thinking he's the missing piece. Whereas Travis Etienne might be seen a little bit more as a gadget by the public, I think he's a lot closer to Najee Harris than people think. I don't think even by the time September comes that people will be drafting last minute will they take Travis Etienne as a top 18 overall back. This reminds me a lot of Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, and really DeAndre Swift. Swift he could have gotten in the 6th round last year, and then by the end of the year he was a 3rd or 4th round pick as camp reports started to come out. The second Travis Etienne steps on the field in the preseason, even if it's just for 2 series, and he looks decent, and he sees 2-3 targets, the second that happens, it's crazy that that's all it takes. But the second we actually put this guy on the field with his old quarterback, and just watch out if he pulls a Dalvin Cook and goes for an 80-yard touchdown on us right in a preseason game. But the moment that happens, he goes from being a borderline top 25 running back for some people to easily a top 20 and pushing towards a top 15. Get him now before he becomes a 3rd round pick in a month or 2. Travis Etienne is going to be a league winner for you. And you can watch this video in a year from now and be upset that you didn't draft him. Or you can be really happy that you did. And you probably had a greatly increased chance of winning your leagues. Don't miss out. Thank you for tuning into this video today about Mr. Travis Etienne. We have our 2021 draft guide down below that you can check out for free for a limited time only, thanks to our partners over at PrizePicks. You can check that out down below. Like and subscribe before you go if you appreciate this content. I appreciate you. Feel free to join the community by subscribing and the notification bell so you know when we're dropping any new videos for this 2021 fantasy football season.